Hi, I'm Rachel Anderton, and for my book report, I decided to dress up, and I'll explain more in a minute. So, the book that I wanted to share with you guys is one of my favorites. It's called The Thief, and it's by Megan Whalen Turner. And this is a fun book. It's the first in a series, and I think you guys will really enjoy it. So first of all, I wanted to let you guys know I had a really hard time picking what category this book falls into because I feel like there's a lot of appropriate categories for this book. And so I'll tell you in a minute what I finally decided. And first, I'll give you a short synopsis of the story. So this story is about the main character, whose name is Eugenides, and that is shortened in the book to Jen. And he's named this because that's the name of the god of thieves. And this is important because he's a thief. So it starts off with these three kingdoms that you need to know about. The first is the kingdom of Sunis, the kingdom of Eddis, and the kingdom of Aetolia. So the king of Sunis wants to marry the queen of Eddis, but he cannot get her consent. And so his advisor, called the Magus, captures Eugenides and puts him in prison, and he releases him under the condition that he will steal something for the king of Sunis, but he won't tell him what it is. So he goes on this journey with the Magus and with a soldier named Pol and two boys named Sophus and Ambiades. And they go on this journey to find this object. And finally, when they get to where the object is, the Magus reveals that he needs to steal a stone that, in the folklore of this country, will give the king of Sunis the right to rule Eddis and to marry the queen of Eddis without her consent. So something very interesting happens to Eugenides when he goes to steal this stone. He steals it from the statue of the gods, but when he gets into the room with the statues, he realizes that he's confronting the actual gods of his religion. And he talks with them and has some discussions with them, and he leaves that room knowing for the first time in his life that these gods are real and not just something that he's made up. So he has to confront the reality of his religion, something he's never done before. And he never tells anybody what happens in that room, but lots of exciting adventures happen after that, and I'll leave the rest as a surprise because there's a surprise ending. Anyway, I'm dressed up as one of the goddesses, and so I thought that was fun. So let me tell you a little bit about the author. Kind of chose different elements of folklore from various cultures, particularly Greece and Rome, to write this story. And so she does a really cool technique. As they go on this journey, Eugenides tells the other people in the group these stories about creation and about the gods. And I'll read you just a little bit. This chapter says, Earth's creation and the birth of the gods. Earth was alone, she had no companions, so she took a piece from the center of herself and made the sun, and that was the first god. So, as you can see, she has Eugenides tell these stories to kind of give you a culture for this book and for the people in this book. And let me read another excerpt. This is after he meets with the gods. It says, Pol asked me, "Are you all right?" I nodded my head. He took me by the elbow and felt my body shaking. "Are you sure?" I nodded again. How could I explain that this was a perfectly normal reaction for someone who had had a careless prayer answered by the gods? So that's kind of the style of the book. It's written in first person, and it's a really engaging, fun style that the author writes in. So the reason why I struggled picking a category is because I feel like it fits really well into modern fantasy. The story's not real, and the things that happen in it probably wouldn't happen. But I also feel like because of those stories that Eugenides tells, this also could fit into the category of traditional literature because there's lots of folklore involved in the stories. But I finally picked the category for this week, the read aloud and religious category, because it has lots of religious undertones. And not just for the religion that the author made up for the book. I feel like it can be likened into many modern religions, and particularly Christianity and even Mormonism, because the character of Eugenides is forced to come face to face with his religion and whether or not he actually believes. And he struggles because other people he realizes don't believe as much as they say they do. So my favorite elements of this book. Oh, I forgot to mention, this book is also really fun to read out loud. There's a really fun audiobook version of it that I first read I've read it many times since then, but my husband and I also read it aloud together, and that was really fun. It's a really enjoyable book to read aloud. It's only about 200 pages, and you get a lot more out of it when you read it out loud. So my favorite elements of the book are just the worlds that the author creates. It's just a very interesting culture, and it's really specific, and everything fits together really well. I also love the characters, especially Jen. He's a really fun character, and because the whole book's told from his point of view, he's really sarcastic and really funny, and then the plot is very exciting, very interesting. It seems slow at first, but as you go, it gets more and more exciting. And I really enjoy her writing style. She's got a very engrossing writing style. She uses a lot of imagery and a lot of very powerful images in her writing that stick with you. So I hope I hope that you guys agree that this would fit into this category. I think if you read the book, it will make more sense. It's kind of a complex book. But I really do feel like it has some very interesting religious undertones, and I feel like it's got lots of symbolism that is also very religious. And the first time that you read it, you might not agree, but then the second time, I think you will. Also, it has two or three other books in the series, which are also very beautiful and with religious undertones. So, thank you for watching. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone!